Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sharmit podcast. Today I'm joined by a remarkable guest, Lucas Santos, who is joining us all the way from Sweden. Lucas is a Microsoft MVP and a former Google developer expert who is consistently contributing for the IT industry. Apart from this, he also holds the distinction of being the first Brazilian to become a TypeScript champion. With over a decades of experience in the software industry, he has contributed as an engineer, educator, and a community builder. So today in this episode, we will explore what it truly means to be an engineer, the hard-earned lesson he learned throughout his journey, and the common misconception developers still hold when working with the backend. But before we get into all of this, I would like to thank Lucas for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us a bit about yourself.
All right, thanks a lot for having me, and it's a lovely, lovely day. First, I'm Lucas Santos. I am originally from Brazil, and I live in Sweden for, I don't know, past 4 or 5 years. I started my career as a software developer back in 2011 or so, something like that. I was 15, so I was very, very young. It was actually like I didn't had this mm, like beginning stories where you start to code like at 4 years old or something. I just actually started coding at 11 or 12 when I actually got a computer and stuff. So it was pretty nice, mostly games and stuff. And I fell in love with it over time. And it's been, I don't know, 15 years now, maybe a bit less, 14 years now since I've been working with it. And I've been through mostly like tech startups, fintechs. I've been through AI companies. I've been to very big corporations. I worked at Microsoft. I worked at Klarna, which, if you're probably listening from outside of Europe or United States, is a very big bank. And well, now I work as a staff engineer at a company called Hemnet. It's one of the biggest property portals in Sweden. I think it is the biggest property portal in Sweden. It's buying and selling houses and stuff. So it's pretty nice. It's a very different type of challenge that we have to endure as an engineer. It's a completely different mindset, completely different thing that you have to do. So it's pretty nice and super nice for having me here. And it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks for the introduction, Lucas. And one more thing I just want to ask you here, like those who know you, they know that you often describe yourself simply as an engineer, period. So what does that identity mean to you after more than a decade of decade in the software industry? What this particular identity mean to you?
Well, I think for a long time I've been describing myself as a lot of titles, right? So I've wrote books, I've done courses and stuff. So professional trainer, professional author, and technical something and stuff. But in the end, the truth is that I am an engineer. I like to build stuff. I like to create things. I like to put systems online. I like to, you know, debug. I like to, well, no one likes to debug actually, but it's a thing that you have to do. But
Yeah.
I like to write code. I like to create stuff. I like to tinker with it. So I never really cared about fancy roles or like these hypes that are trending most of the times. Actually, this is one of I think it's one of the reasons why uh I have a lot of friends that are like super famous and stuff, and I decided to keep like a low profile, mostly because I don't usually get in this type of like hyping or trending stuff just because it's hype or just because it's trending. I usually try to solve the issues. I like to do a lot of stuff because of engineering.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like less about coding itself. It's more about thinking how you can create well architectured solutions, how to make good trade-offs, and understanding systems and complexity end to end. These type of things. It's like mostly this kind of discipline and attention. That's what I think it is to be an engineer. I think we have a lot of people that see the glamour of being in like I don't know this jobs where you can like IT jobs where you can be like at home and you can win like earn six figures a year and stuff like that. But in the end, they forget that the job is actually about doing
Right.
engineering, is doing good things that will last for a long time. So that's
Exactly.
what I think it means for me.
Correct. I think this sets you apart from other developers, because I think this kind of mentality we need in every developer to contribute for the industry. And I'm sure like because of this also, like you have been late in the later go, you have been rewarded with various titles, and you are also the first Brazilian to become the TypeScript champion. So Lucas, like what
Mhm.
does that recognition represent for you personally and for the Brazilian tech ecosystem as well? So how you look at this?
I think those titles and not only the TypeScript champion, but like good developer expert, Dr.
Yes.
Captain, MVP, and whatever else, though those are validations. They're not like something you actually earn. Like you go, aiming towards this, and I'm gonna get it. It's usually
Right.
like a recognition for the work that you already do. So I think personally, I feel this is like a validation of all the years that I've spent teaching and trying to make TypeScript more accessible to people. I really like TypeScript. I think it's something that will actually change a lot in our environment today, especially in the web and JavaScript environment. I think it's more like I don't get it. It's sort of like a trophy, but it's also not. It's a reminder more like, oh, doing things consistently and doing things you like usually get you noticed and rewarded by it.
Exactly.
So every time someone asks me, "Oh, how do I do to become I don't know, an MVP or a TDE or something?" I say, "Yeah, you first actually need to be one before you actually apply to be one of those." So you already have to generate content, you already have to create stuff, you already have to teach. So those are just recognitions. They're
Right.
not something out. I'm gonna get this, and now I'm gonna start doing. And for the Brazilian community specifically, I think Brazil has a lot of engineers. Like we are like a very big country. There's a lot of things, a lot of people here, and Brazil is one of the most like socially different countries in the world. Like we have like very different social levels. Like we have people that are super rich and people that are super poor,
Mhm.
and it's very difficult for most of the population, to be honest, to get to a very like standard of living where they can be comfortable. So I think it's a reminder, not a reminder, it's like a proof that you can actually come from everywhere or anywhere in Brazil and you can still contribute meaningfully to global technology. Like you don't need to be like a very like a superstar to get your code in the Node.js core, or you don't have to do anything like that. You can just be yourself, and you were just as smart as anyone else. So that's the stigma that I want to break. Like I want to say that people don't need to compare themselves. Like, oh, I think this guy's just like super smarter than me, and that's why he has a chance and I don't. That's not how it works. There's a lot of brilliant people everywhere in the world, in Brazil as well, and they sometimes just need this visibility. This highlight and and I don't know if my recognition opens up doors or anything for anyone's, but if it does, then it's worth it. I think it's nice.
Okay. You know what? Like a few days back, I also did a podcast with another person, and he especially mentioned he
Mhm.
worked in Brazil. So he mentioned that one thing he commonly found in every Brazilian is that like they know what to do, and they don't look for the other option, right? If they have decided something, they will do it anyhow. So I think same thing, same vibes I can also feel with you also, because this is like usually we like when we started with some project, we got the challenges and we were not able to do that, then in that case we simply leave it. But if you are an expert, like you are a MVP, you are a Google developer expert, so they have this kind of mindset that we have to do it anyhow, doesn't matter like what things we have or where we are starting with. So I think that is something really special. And one more good thing you just shared, because I'm sure like there are other folks also who wanted to become Google developer expert, Microsoft MVP. So with your explanation, I think it is clear that just don't go behind the titles, awards, or the things. Instead, start contributing, because when once you start contributing, once you have that passion, then community will automatically reach out to you. They will reward you for your work. Same thing I did. Same thing Lucas also did. Like we started working on the content, and like we are rewarded with these kind of titles. So I think this is the same thing that anyone can follow. Start contributing, and then you will see the fruit in the later go. All right. So, Lucas, what's a hard engineering lesson you had to learn the long way you that you now would love to share with the students in their early on? Like, did you find any challenges that you would love to share with the students so that they can cope up with those kind of situation?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned over years is that it's very easy to make complicated software, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Simplicity, being simple on things, it's very difficult. Right? A lot of people say to me, like, oh, but I'm creating this because this is going to be easy to maintain in the future, and when it becomes a legacy, it will be something that will be easier maintained and easier, easier to keep. And the hard truth about it is that most of the software you write will not live long enough to become a legacy. So it is a thing that I always say, like, being simple is very hard. It's very difficult for you to simplify your code. It's very difficult for you to make it uh, uh, in a way that everyone can understand. And what you usually try to do, like software creation, software coding, is a mental model, right? What you do is like you create an idea in your head and a bunch of um, connected dots between those ideas, and then you write them in the form of code. And basically, every time someone needs to understand this code, they need to understand your process of thinking, your thoughts, and your ideas, and everything. So making it simple is very hard, and making it complicated is very easy because programming technologies like programming languages, they will honestly be built for abstraction. So it's easy for you to abstract stuff in programming languages,
Right.
and it's easier for you to create stuff on top of other stuff. So I think that's the hard lesson. If you can do it in the simplest possible way, like even dumbest way possible, do it because that will be the simplest possible way you can do it. And if you think, and then when you get the ideas, when you get the problems, you will be able to solve them in a more complex way, maybe. But first, start simple.
Completely agree with this, because this is a best piece of advice anyone can follow. Because sometimes like what we do, like we make the things complex for ourselves in order to make it more better and more better. So it's better to be simple, as Lucas just shared, that try to find out the best simplest solution for your problem and then start working on that, so that it will not make things burden for you, right? It will make the thing it will also help you to get the better result in the longer way. So that's the best advice you just shared.
Yeah, there's a phrase that a guy, a mentor of a professor of mine told me actually,
Yeah.
that it's the best code is the code that you barely know it's there. So the things that are always around, he compared, for example, electricity or running water and stuff like that. Those things we never even like glimpse of, oh, this is something that we have to take care of because we take it for granted. So
Right.
some of the services that we have or that we built, it's like, oh, you actually can have a service that no one notices is there. But if no
Mm,
one notices your service, no one notices the code you wrote, that's because it's one of the best pieces of software ever because you
correct.
never have to give it maintenance because it never fades.
Correct. Correct. All right. So now, Lucas, like as an instructor, you are as an instructor like at Elura, and which was formerly known as Rocket Seat. What recurring misconception do you see in developer learning backend for the very first time? So suppose there is a group of students who want to learn about backend system. So what do you think? Like, what are the misconceptions they have in learning the backend for the very first time?
I think something that keeps coming up every time that I teach someone is that back frameworks,
Mm-hmm.
right? The thing is, you don't want people. There is a line when programming started from being something nerdy. Someone like you need to be very, very into the electronics, very into things that is, I don't know, 1980s, 1990s, where everyone was like, who was a developer was actually very into that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to do things, you have to learn from the ground up. There wasn't frameworks or anything. And then you get it in my generation, for example, where we kind of grew up without technology. I'm from the 90s, right? So you grew up without technology, but you got technology kind of later in life, but not so late. So I was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 when internet was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got the initial childhood without the internet and then after the internet. And then you have the next generation where they grew up with technologies already, right? They grew up with everything being there. And the big thing that I always see people asking is that they don't want to learn the the fundamentals, the basics. They want to jump straight to building. So uh, for these we made frameworks, right? That's fine. You can have frameworks, but they were built because it was boring to build stuff that you already know. So
Right.
if you already knew fundamentals, you would be frameworks to, skip that boring part. But then software development became kind of a trendy thing. Everyone wanted to be a software developer. It was easy to be a software developer. They jumped on top of those foundations and then moved up to frameworks. So you get
Right.
things like React developer or jQuery developer or I don't know, Next.js developers, which only know how to work in that specific framework. I think that's the wrong part. Like people, it's not about it. It's about understanding state, data structures, I/O,
Mm.
timing, timeouts, protocols. So things are not as abstract as they seem. So this is one thing that keeps coming up. And the other thing that comes directly after that, like if you don't want to learn foundations and you just like create your use the framework of choice, and then you put something in there. And then you ignore completely that this thing has an operational reality, right? You have deploys, you have to do rollbacks, you have to do monitoring, logging. Things are going to go wrong. So people are going to start using systems from all over the world, so you need queues, you need
Yes.
cache. So these types of things are also part of the software development lifecycle. So that is the actual backend of the software. The front end, the thing that you see, is a shell of how users use something that is connected to a much more like a much larger network in the backend. So that is the I think those are the two main recurring things. And then in the end, once you have everything done, no one documents anything, right? With AI, this became a bit less of a problem because you can ask AI to read the entire code base and explain that to
Right.
you. But back then, basically, I struggle to for people to just like write documentations about things you're doing because no one is going to go inside your brain and understand what you were thinking when you were creating this software. So
Correct.
it's an important part of the software that you have to do as well.
Correct. So, when you are saying about the documentation, so is there any particular tool that you utilize, like maybe OneNote or a GitHub or any particular thing that you recommend?
What I like to do,
Mm.
honestly, is there's two things I do. One of them, I think Markdown is king. Like in general, I like to write the Markdown documentations myself because
Okay.
it actually makes me understand what I am putting into the code.
Building it.
But
Yeah.
also as a tooling, yeah, as a tooling, I really like these agents like Cloud Code or even ChatGPT works a lot.
Hmm.
Codex, I think they call it. And then I just ask them to read the entire documentation, read the entire code, and write the documentation for me. And then at least they have like the basic structure, like the gross structure. Then I can read the entire documentation and say, oh, this thing is right, this thing's wrong, this thing's right, this thing's wrong. So I can change stuff. But I think that the most difficult part of the documentation is actually to start writing it.
Hmm.
So
Right.
they cut this barrier. They can write the big chunk and then you can just tweak it as it goes. And then another thing that I really like to do, I tested this a few times, but for larger software repositories like we have in Hamlet, it works better if you trigger it. But it's an auto documentation. Every time you do a PR or something, you ask Claude for or whatever other AI agent you have to read the documentation, the PR, and update the documentation. So every time we have in Hamlet, we have this like every time you do something, you can do like slash autodoc, and we'll read the entire PR, update the documentation for you. And if it doesn't
Hmm.
have anything to update, it will not do anything basically.
Okay. All right. Okay, so now moving ahead, we will talk bit about your community contribution as well, because you have helped build communities like Vue.js SP, JavaScript SP, Node BR, also the TypeScript BR. So what do you think? Like, what does a healthy tech community look like, and how do you build one? Because we all know that healthy community is needed to get the better result to work on a project that you would love to create, right? To build a particular project. So, in your opinion, what does that healthy tech community look like, and how you can build it?
I think a healthy community looks like a uh, an example I can give you is that like a healthy community is something that it will keep itself running
Hmm.
for years even after you're gone.
Right.
So I helped build TypeScript Brazil, No Brazil, and all these other communities, Vue.js, JavaScript, São Paulo. Those communities are still there, so they're still living in, even though I am not in the organizational team anymore. So I'm still there. I'm still in the community. I see the things. I go to their events when I'm here, but it's something that I don't have a say anymore. I don't organize events. It's with other people. So I think community is less about having what I see a lot in the community. Like an example, you're having a community, and this community has some sort of like a hero, some like initial. I would say, for example, the Rails community in Ruby. DHH was for a long time the kind of a tech guy that was the headmaster of everything, and then he left. But I think he left, and he really left. But this is the thing. Like, there is a figure of a kind of a I don't know the follower, the guy you need to follow, basically, like the
Uh,
mentor, the hero of the community. This is much more like ego because once this guy is off, the community kind of disappears, right? So I think a healthy community is the one that prioritizes like people over the ego of oneself specifically. So you go in, you have an organizational team, and you delegate these things for everyone, and then everyone start building it themselves. It's not about like being a celebrity developer and not being a, I don't know, blind following everyone or just because someone is like famous or so. It's a safe place where people can go in, collaborate, ask questions, make mistakes, grow. It was more like personal when you didn't have like AI and other type of stuff, or before the pandemic when we did more events. But
hmm.
after we became more like remote, this kind of lost a bit. But we are rebuilding it bit by bit. But the idea is that with consistency, if you can start doing things consistently, events consistently, and being empathic, being transparent with everything you do. You don't have to do like flashy events or do very, I don't know, rent at the biggest theater to get your event in or like light shows and DJs and stuff. If you do something very small, a meetup somewhere, it's also a community. And these actually brings more people together in smaller events than very big events because there is this pressure, like if you're in a big event, you're an attendee, but if you're in a small event and a meetup, you're part of that event. You're like one of the ones that make the event happen. So I think that's part of the thing. If I had to put like in bullet points, I would say first of all, uh, no ego, just like let things move the way they are, and a healthy measure of a community is when if you leave, this community keeps on going.
Right.
The community doesn't actually need you to grow. That's the healthy community part. And then the second one, consistency. The third one is being humble about things you do. So I
Yes.
think
Right.
that is the three steps of building a health community. And it doesn't happen overnight, right? It happens like over 5, 10 years of doing things. That's how community picks space, basically.
Okay. All right. And now, I'm sure, like, or maybe you don't know, but those people who are working around you, they know you as a person who is implementing the solution with high efficiency and low impact. So, in your opinion, like, what's an example of small engineering detail that ended up making a huge difference in your way? Like, anything that you remember as of now?
Yeah, I worked as a consultant for years, like 5, 6 years. I worked as a consultant, so I've been mostly in hospitals. So I went to multiple hospitals and stuff. And hospital systems are usually very old. They were put together in the 1990s, maybe even before that.
Mhm.
So they are like these black screens with telnet communication between them. So it's pretty difficult to deal with it, right? So one of the things that I think it's very underrated, like it's a very small engineering detail that it's very easy to do, but people just miss it. It's logging. If you, for example, you create the best piece of software ever, and it
Mhm.
rarely breaks, but it doesn't have any logic. You start the thing, there is nothing. You don't know it's running or it's not running. It's just like a blank screen. And I actually compare this with the initial experience with VI, for example. If you go to your terminal and open VI, not Vim, the original VI, there is zero indication of what you need to do, of the commands. It opens a black screen, right, written like VI, visual add. And then basically it's up to you to figure out what actually you need to do. And that's
Correct.
a thing. So if you have good logging, I think you can actually, it saved me a lot of times when you have to debug stuff in very complex systems. Good logging can help you pinpoint issues very fast. And what I mean by good logging is like not informational logging, like, oh, this thing was added here, oh, this thing was removed, or the server is up, the server is down. It's actually things like, oh, we have an error because we tried to insert the registry number, whatever, into the other database because of this previous thing that you had to do. And the error
All
is
right.
this one. And then you can actually figure out the place where the error is happening, where the error is happening, and everything else. So there is a bunch of things.
Okay. All right. So, Lucas, like, we all know that you are contributing as a different role in a different role, as a Google developer expert, Microsoft MVP, and other titles also, and you are influencing so many peoples in the industry. But I just wanted to know, like, who were those key person in your life who have helped you in your journey? Maybe your family member, friends, mentors. So, who were those key people who have really influenced your journey so far?
I think I have a few friends that I admire a lot. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
start with the ones that are not just like close friends or just like big people. I think Dennis Ritchie was one of the biggest ones that influenced me a lot. Linus Torvalds was actually one of the guys that actually influenced me a lot as well. I like a lot, for example, what Ryan Dahl did with Node. So I have a bunch of people that I admired. Um, James Gosling from Java as well is one of the guys that I really like to. And obviously, there is Vim's VI's right creator. So Bill, I always forget his name. Bill something. So what about a guy that admires someone that he doesn't know? Bill Joy. I always forget Bill Joy. So this, I think he's one of the best developers ever exist. Like this, these are the ones that I think are thinkers, these type of guys. And then for like close friends, I have a few close friends that I admire a lot. Eric Wendell is one of my closest friends. He's like super good. He's very nice about it, and he does create content a lot. I have another friend, Mario. He's also super very, you know, into the details and do super nice content as well. Alvaro is another guy that he's I can give you all these their tags later on so you can
Yeah.
tag them. So Alvaro is also another guy that has helped me a lot in a lot of times. There's a bunch of people. I cannot just like describe them all here because
Yes.
like they've all contributed somehow to my career and like how they influenced my journey. So in general, that was that.
Agreed. There are so many people. Okay. So, although like Lucas, we have plenty of things that we can discuss here in this podcast, but we are short on time. But before we leave this discussion, I just want to ask few things about your other contribution, because you are also contributing as a YouTuber and as a blogger also. So, could you
Mhm.
please tell us a bit about your work with YouTube and blog to the audience so that they can take a reference from there?
Sure. I've been creating content for, I don't know, 10 years or so. I
Mm-hmm.
have a blog. It's a blog.lsantos.dev. Most of my content is in Portuguese, but I'm changing this sooner, like with more English content. I have a Dev2 account, Medium account as well. Most of the content is duplicated there. But I also have a YouTube channel, which is Lucas Santos, that probably having a link somewhere will be helpful at
Yes.
youtube.lsantos.dev. My name is very common in Brazil, so it's very difficult to find. But I really like creating content because I think the whole content creation thing started because I forget things a lot. I tend to forget things a lot. I have
Mm.
ADHD, so it's very difficult for me to remember things. So I built a system. Like I write stuff as I was explaining to someone else, and this is basically my blog. I've been I cannot count how many times I've came back to my blog to read things that I've done because I forgot how to do them. So I basically write my articles and things for my future self to come back and get reference from them. And I think those are the best like way. I think creating content is the best way you can actually not only learn but become a very good developer and also put yourself out there. Like you create stuff, you tell people that you're doing, and you teach them how to do it, and then people will start looking at your content in a different way because you are an engineer of a reference. Like someone is going to reference you in things. So it's
Mm.
going to like over time, this becomes very, very nice. So I think I always give this advice to everyone. If you can, you start writing or creating content as soon as you can. Like do it in for your entire career because this will help you a lot.
Completely agree. And this is I also feel the same thing when I am creating the content, that when you are explaining something, when you are teaching something, then there is a lot of through which, before teaching something, like you have to learn a lot of things, right? And you have to explore the things, and that will, in that way, like you are also helping yourself because you are learning the concept, but also you are explaining the others. So in the upcoming days, like after creating the content in few days, like you will see the impact also, that there are some people who are contributing, who are also like going through your content, and they are learning a lot. So one side, like you are learning for yourself, and also you are helping others. So that is the best way to learn and teach something. In order, it doesn't matter like you are a YouTuber or a blogger, both things will work in the same way.
Yeah,
All right. So yeah, thank you so much, Lucas, for joining us today in this episode, and for sharing so much information, and for sharing your YouTube channel and blog also, because I'm sure like that will also help the listeners. So thank you once again for being a part of the show. It was pleasure to talk with you here.
it was my pleasure. Anyway, anytime, anywhere, I'm always here. If you guys have any doubts or anything, just let me know. I'm always open to answer your questions or anything. Just ping me up. I'll be there.
Thank you. Thanks, Lucas.